So what we're doing this afternoon, we're working patterns and numbers around us. I know we've already talked yesterday about yesterday's work and catching up on some of those patterns. So when we talked about terms, we're talking about the number in the pattern, right? Today we're talking about patterns and numbers around us. And is there any patterns when we talk about numbers in the things in our own lives? So if you think about your own lives, think about where might there be any patterns of numbers. Jess?
An age difference between siblings or family members?
Sure. Age differences, sometimes in siblings or family members. Yeah, lots of times it'll be like, oh, I was born in 2006, and someone was born in 2008, someone was born in 2010. So there could be a pattern there. Or it could be like my kids, one was born in 2009, one was born in 2010. So there is a pattern. I mean, we stopped the pattern at 2010. We didn't keep it going. But sure, that's one. It could be people's dates of birth, right? For instance, we have a lot of people in here that have similar years that they were born. And there could be a pattern, right? We try to put students in classes with people that are the same age. What else? Are there other patterns in our lives that we see with numbers? Jess?
Money.
Money's an easy one. So you could have things like prices at the grocery store, right? We've got oranges, and we've got like 3 different kinds of oranges, and these are the different prices. You go to another grocery store, they may have similar prices, right? One of the things that we see that's huge around this area is gas prices. So we see a lot of people who come in here because the gas prices, there seems to be a pattern of lower gas prices here in Tyndonega, right? So that's a pattern. Even other things, later on as you get older, you'll see things like you might want to buy a house or look to rent an apartment, right? So what you'll look is you'll probably go online or you'll find a way to look at what are the prices of houses in whatever area you want to live, or to rent an apartment, or, right? Because there are patterns in those. In this area, it's a little bit more pricey, or in this area it's a little less pricey. So you can look to see, okay, where might I want to live? What are the prices? And you can compare, and there's definitely some patterns in housing prices, okay? 3 kind of concepts that we're going to talk about really, really quick. And they shouldn't be new concepts, right? These are things that you've worked on for a long time. When we talk about rounding numbers, what are we talking about? Natalie?
The next highest 10.
The next highest 10? Yeah, I mean, we could round to the 10. We could round to the 1. We could round to the next 100, right? But how does rounding work when we round numbers? We can round numbers either up or
Down.
yeah, so rounding numbers. We round up or down. How do we usually, if we don't have a question that says, say, round to the nearest 100, we don't have a question that gives us that explanation, how do we usually round numbers? Keegan?
4 numbers below go down, 5 and up go up.
So 0 to 4, we go down. 5 to 9, we go up. And this is usually, we're talking about the last number, Keegan? So we're talking about the last number. So if you saw a price like $3.99, right? We see it's a 9. It's very close to, yeah, $3.99 is very close to 4. So we would round that up to $4,
And you're not
right?
going to pay an exact change.
If you got paid $191 and someone said to you, how much did you get paid? You might say, yeah, you might round that down. So that one there is going up. You might round that down. You say, oh, I got about $190. Right? Because it's sometimes it's easier to go to those rounded numbers, 190. Some people would say, I got $191. Some people would be very specific, but lots of times we can just round those numbers. So when we are looking at them, we're looking at these last number. Unless it's asking you specifically to round to a nearest 100, right? In which case, if we were looking to round this to the nearest 100, right? We're looking at the one beside it, the 9. 191 is very close to 200. We would round it up to 200. When would we round it down to 100? If it said what? If it's below 150, we'd usually round it down to 100 if we were rounding to the nearest 100. Now, if I got 148, I'm probably rounding to, say, 150. But if someone said, round to the nearest 100, then that would be rounding down. Perfect. What about estimating? What is estimating? Jess?
It's making an educational guess.
So we'd say making an educated guess. When do we use estimation? Yeah? Making an educated guess. Oh, thank you. Making an educated guess. When will we use estimating? Yeah? So maybe if you're getting a paycheck, right? You might know around how much you get, depending on, say, the hours you work. You might know around, so you might estimate, okay, I think I'm going to get around this much because I've worked around this many hours. So you're estimating or you're figuring out how much around you're going to get, right? So that's one way. When else do we use estimating? Any other estimates? Yeah?
Like, say if there's no price tag on something, what's the normal thing to do?
Gotcha. So if you're like out shopping and you say there's no price tag on it, you're not 100% sure, but you're like, okay, it's usually around this much, you might estimate. Oftentimes when people are shopping, whether it's groceries or clothes, right, we try to figure out what the total price would be. So we could say, okay, this is $4 and this is, that's $3.99, so it's going to be around this much, and this would be this much. Or if you're clothes shopping, right, like, oh, these jeans are, they're $40, but they're 40% off. Well, I know 50% off means they're actually half price. So that's like 20, but they'd be a little bit more because it's only 40, so maybe they're $24. So people estimate all the time when they're shopping, right? And then they try to say, okay, well, the whole store is 40% off. So these jeans are probably like, 23, and then this shirt's $20, but half price would be 10, so it's probably like, 12 or $12. So now I'm up to 23 plus 12, I'm up to 35, right? So you kind of go through an estimate to say, okay, am I going to have enough money? How much is this really going to cost, right? And you could figure out the taxes later on if you want, but you're just going through and estimating to kind of get a guess at an educated guess at what you think the price would be. Who's heard of this term, friendly numbers? Georgia? You've heard of it? Do you have an idea of what it means?
Not really. I think I've heard Miss Green say it though.
Gotcha. Miss Green would talk about the friendly numbers strategy. Anyone have an idea of what friendly numbers strategy means? Yeah?
Even numbers?
Oftentimes we use even numbers as friendly numbers because they're easier to use. Yeah, Georgia?
Something like he said something about like someone's a house and there's like a house with numbers.
We say rounding numbers to make questions easier. So if you have a question like this, if you say 84 plus, let's say, 26. Let's actually, hold on, I'll say 23. Okay? Let's say 84 plus 23. if I say, tell me, Joe, what 84 plus 23 is, you might freeze up and go, I'm not sure. There's like a lot of numbers there. But if we broke it down to friendly numbers, we'd say, okay, 80 is really just 80 and 4, and 23 is just really 20 and 3. I can add up 80 and 20, right? And they will give me 100. I can add up 4 and 3, and they'll give me 7. I know 100 plus 7 is 107. So that's looking at the numbers and breaking them down into things that you can add or multiply or divide easier. Okay? So in this case, we went to our tenths numbers and our one numbers. And then also our tenths and our numbers. We broke 23 into numbers that are friendly that we can work with and we can add up in our head. Right? Because I know 80 plus 20, 80, 90, 100. That's easy. I know 4 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that's easy. 107, 107. Right? This is stuff that we can do all the time if we're trying to figure out prices or adding bigger numbers. Right? We can break them down into smaller ones in our head, and we can do what's called mental math with friendly numbers. Not math that makes us go mental, but math that we can do in our head. Right? So we call it friendly numbers or mental math. Some of the practice work you're going to do today will be around friendly numbers, trying to figure out those numbers in your head. Okay? But it is important to know that there are patterns in numbers all around us all the time. Right? Even if you walk in the grocery store, every aisle is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there are things in those ones, right? It's a way in which we organize things. Okay? So we do this numbers and patterns all the time, all over the place. Anybody have any questions about any of these right now? It's clear as mud?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do some practice.